Well, good morning to all of you, and I want to echo what Minister Pallas said in how grateful we are on behalf of Global Citizen for the partnership with the State Government of Victoria, as well as working with Global Victoria. They have been phenomenal partners, and we are incredibly grateful. So if you'll join me in giving Minister Pallas another huge round of applause. We are now going live to London, and I am deeply honoured to be joined by the Honourable Julia Gillard. Let's give Julia the most huge round of applause. I think this is... Now, obviously, in Australia, Julia needs very little introduction since being Prime Minister. She has championed education, she has championed gender equity, humanitarian action. She truly has been a force for good all around the planet and continues to be such a globally respected voice on the issues that we at Global Citizen care so deeply about. So, Julia, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Great to be with you, Hugh, and to get a view of the room is very exciting. I also wish that I was in that Australian sunshine. It's pretty cold here in London.
It is cold in London, and I don't want to boast, but yesterday the weather was absolutely stunning here in Melbourne.
Oh, you're killing me.
Julia, one of the most memorable field experiences I've ever had was when you and I went to Malawi with Rihanna to campaign on global education. It was there that we met 14-year-old Wangani, a student who had benefited greatly from education access in his community, and he then joined us on stage at Global Citizen Festival in Hamburg many years ago. When you reflect on your efforts with the Global Partnership for Education, do you feel that things are getting better or worse as far as access to education for children in conflict? And then also, what actions do you feel need to be taken?
Things are getting better, Hugh. I do remember that visit to Malawi, and it was a magic time, and it was great to see the work of the Global Partnership for Education, including more children in school, particularly more girls, building out primary school and making sure that children could do the transition to secondary school. We would certainly be far worse off without those huge efforts. But having said that, post-COVID, the dimensions of the problem are more difficult. Partly that's because so many years of education were lost during lockdowns, and some developing nations had kids out of school for around 2 years with no real ability to connect them to education when schools were closed. And of course, we've seen the huge and very distressing change in Afghanistan, which has forced millions of children, particularly girls, out of school. And so when you add it all up, we are talking about 250 million children who are out of school, of primary and secondary school age. And unfortunately, we've gone backwards by about 6 million children. So there's much to do, including in our region of the world, where there are around 23 million primary school age children who are out of school. So mobilising energy and efforts for overseas development assistance to go into education through the Global Partnership for Education or other education-focused bodies, supporting through donations and any way you can, things like the Campaign for Female Education, which has been so successful in getting girls to stay in school, is absolutely pivotal at this time as we rebuild post-COVID.
Thank you, Julia. And as more recently, you took on a really important role as chair of the Wellcome Trust. And for those of you who don't know what the Wellcome Trust is, it's one of the world's leading research institutions for global health. And we're speaking to you today from a city, Melbourne, renowned for leading the world on health research. In fact, so many of the most important innovations in public health have come from the state of Victoria. Yet we also live in a world where millions are dying early from preventable diseases. Julia, I'd love you to tell us what innovations are you most excited to see to improve health in the Asia-Pacific region?
Well, like you, Hugh, I am incredibly proud of Australian science. It certainly happens in Victoria, which is a huge leader on life sciences. Right around Australia, we've got depths on life sciences. And one of the really exciting things that's come out of that is a new way, a natural bacteria that inhibits the ability of mosquitoes to transmit viruses like dengue fever and malaria from human to human, to basically cut the infection rate, to cut the spread. And that is being rolled out now in real time around the Asia Pacific. That is Australian science in action, saving lives as we are speaking here today. And excitingly, too, the Wellcome Trust, working with the Gates Foundation, is funding a shot to try and create a new tuberculosis vaccine. We've got a vaccine at the moment, it's 100 years old, doesn't work that well. We think it's time for a new generation vaccine that's going into clinical trials, including in our region in Indonesia. And tuberculosis continues to kill millions around the world. So, a more effective vaccine would truly make a difference for global health. And then at the Wellcome Trust, too, we're very focused on the intersection of climate and health. We know that parasites that bear diseases will be in new regions because they'll be able to prosper there now with the climate changing. We're still trying to understand the effect of extreme heat on human biology. We're still trying to work through everything that means for our food and nutrition system. We're investing in that science, and that science is absolutely pivotal to our region because, as you know only too well, some of the countries most at risk, in fact, not just at risk, but already seeing the effects of climate change in dramatic ways, are in our region of the world, particularly the Pacific Islands, but also through Asia. So this intersection of climate and health, I think, is going to be a big driver of scientific inquiry and discovery in the future. And Australia, I'm sure, will be playing a disproportionate role in it, given where we are in the world and the nature of our expertise.
That's really extraordinary. Thank you for sharing that. And yesterday I was meeting with, I'm not sure you're aware, but we have these extraordinary 32 young leaders gathered with us from all across Australia, Asia Pacific region. They have been specifically chosen because they're doing such innovative work across the region to change the world. I'm interested in what advice would you give to young innovators who aspire to leadership roles in today's world? Because I think that, I know you, many years ago when I asked you to mentor me, you offered such good advice at the time, and it was invaluable to me in my own personal growth. So there's 32 incredible young innovators, but there's also some incredibly ambitious people in the audience who want to change the world. What personal advice would you give to them?
Well, we were a bit younger then, Hugh. Hopefully the advice is
We
still
were,
good.
that's true.
Terrific that there are such young leaders in the room. And, looking back on my own kind of lifetime pathway, what was so important to me early on was to get really clear about my sense of purpose in the world, what I wanted to dedicate my life to. I know you're fond of using the expression your North Star, but the thing that's really going to guide you, and it doesn't have to be an incredibly specific policy, but I do think it needs to be a cause. And for me, that cause was access to education. That's what got me first on a pathway of raising my voice, putting an argument, trying to lobby a decision maker, writing a leaflet, trying to persuade someone on a street corner that we could do better as a community, as a nation. So I think getting clear about that sense of purpose is really important. And then in this age, which can be very quarrelsome, very contested, lots of people out there on social media ready to give you a little bit of a critique and a few unkind words, I think it's important too to nurture a sense of self. Not to be immune to really constructive criticism, you should listen to that, but people who are prepared to put themselves out publicly these days do get criticism back. And if it's just, you know, the flotsam and jetsam that goes around on social media, you shouldn't let it get in your head or hurt your heart. You should stay true to that sense of cause and purpose, because ultimately that's what's going to sustain you.
That's beautifully said. Come on, come on. I think that's so true, because I love what you said firstly about North Star, and secondly what you said about your sense of self, because I think any leader, no matter how successful you are, is prone to self-doubt. And so if you allow haters, as Taylor Swift, haters are going to hate, that's what she says, you know, you've got to shake it off. And so Julia,
if we're about to burst into song, Hugh, you're going to find yourself.
No. That's not my job. That's not my job. Julia, the thing that really separates you is that you've been such a consistent champion and advocate for women and girls throughout your entire career, and you've always put your values into action. I love how you always wear your heart on your sleeve. You were the first woman to become Prime Minister of this amazing nation of Australia, and just over 10 years ago, you delivered an unbelievably moving speech in Parliament on sexism and misogyny. In your view, what are the most pressing issues facing young women today, and how can those in positions of power work to create positive change?
Well, it does start with girls' education. I mean, if a girl can't get in the door of a school, then all the other doors are going to be closed to her. So starting with education, all of us campaigning for equal education all around the world, quality education for all really, really matters. I also think in this post-pandemic world, campaigning for a re-evaluation of the work that is still very feminised, the caring work, the healthcare work in our societies is pivotally important. We learned in a very hard time just how important that work is to all of us, but we don't pay it fairly. We don't ensure that it is valued as a set of occupations and professions, and we should be doing more in our societies to address that. And then for young women in particular, I would want to say be persuading young men about the cause of gender equality. And that might seem like an odd thing to say, but I do want to point the room in the direction of some polling research that the Global Institute for Women's Leadership, which I chair, is releasing this week to coincide with International Women's Day. You'll be able to get online and have a look. And it's a polling data set of more than 20 countries. We've done it for 5 years now. And there is a disturbing trend line, particularly among young men, who are increasingly saying things like, efforts for gender equality have gone too far. So I would, say to people in the room, have a look at that research. There are a lot of pressures on young men today, a lot of online influencers who are trying to peddle very dark visions of what it is to be a man. And unfortunately, I think that is having an influence. And we do need to make sure that the generation that's coming up and shaping the future is a generation where everyone sees that gender equality will make for a better world for everyone. This isn't just a project for women, it's a project for all of us. But I am concerned about that negative line that's showing in our polling and what it might say about some emerging harder attitudes towards gender equality.
Wow. That research you shared is incredibly concerning. Lots more we could talk about that. But I want to end with one final question, if I may, because there are some extraordinary young women leaders here today. What advice would you give specifically to them in their quest to change the world for good?
Well, I would say don't make a naive error that I made, which was when I was young. I thought to myself, gee, everybody's onto this whole thing about gender equality now, so it'll be fixed pretty soon. So I probably won't have to worry about it for too much longer because it'll be okay. Well, that didn't work out quite the way I envisaged when I was, 18, 19, 20. And so for young women, I would say, you are going to be pursuing your work, your advocacy, your leadership in a world that is still unequal for women. Forewarned is forearmed. You've got the benefit of seeing this movie before, and that does mean that you can, think in advance how it is that you're going to make your way in this world and deal with sexist, even misogynist situations when it comes your way, how you're going to call it out, how you're going to address it. So, unfortunately, we do still have to get a little bit of the armour on, the padding on, to deal with a world that doesn't treat women fairly. But I think we've got more tools at our disposal to deal with that world now. And I think women have such a great sense of solidarity today as we navigate that world that there's always someone alongside us.
Here, here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Julia Gillard. Thank you.
Thank you very much.